sports. It's in the game.
The British Grand Prix held the first ever Formula 1 race back in 1950, and in the 71st year of the FIA Formula 1 World Championship, there's a different air of excitement about this particular weekend. We're looking forward to, in the very short near future, the reveal of the 2022 base that the teams will have to work around in terms of their cars. We'll be seeing the very first 2022 car in the FOM spec, that is, and the cars will be given that as a base design to base their cars around. We'll also be looking forward to the first ever F1 sprint race that will take place tomorrow in replacement for the qualifying hour that will be later today. But in FP1 today, and you can tell by the crowd reaction, and a very early car has already taken to the track as the session has gone green, that is the Mercedes of Aiden Jackson in the first of 2 practice runs he will have during the 2021 season. Now, of course, the story is that Aiden Jackson has been permitted by the FIA to take part in the 2 practice sessions after one of the rules and regulations for this season has teams have to run younger drivers or third drivers for 2 practice sessions during the season. Aiden Jackson's circumstances are very different considering the way he came into the sport, which we'll go over in just a second after this team radio.
Okay, buddy, how you feeling? Wow, this is immense right now. This power is, wow, this is something else. Okay, Aiden, settle down. We still got a long way to go. Right. So now next lap we want you to push a little bit harder, but don't worry about speed right now, the track is still green. Just focus on getting a couple of laps in and gel with the car, and put your foot down when you feel comfortable enough. These are the hard tyres, so you'll be able to push a little bit more for a little bit longer. Okay, copy that.
Well, as calm, mature and level-headed as Aiden Jackson is during his very young F1 career so far, no one could really blame him for being the tiniest bit more excited than usual, having his first run in the world champion car, so to speak, from 2020. And it will be very interesting to see how he does in his very first session in a radically different vehicle to what he's used to. And of course, this all came about at the start of the season in the pre-season driver saga at HAAS. When they initially signed Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin as their drivers after Aiden Jackson was somewhat snubbed by HAAS initially, even though there had been an agreement in place that whoever of the 2 high-tech drivers in Formula 2 last season won out in terms of the standings would be their driver. Aiden Jackson beat Nikita Mazepin in the standings, but then was snubbed for Nikita Mazepin anyway, and he was announced. Now, upon the reveal of the car livery and the sponsorships on the car, it became very clear that Nikita's seat was mostly for financial security for the team, which could make sense considering the last couple of seasons in the terms of sponsorship and the whole mess that HAAS have been in with that sponsorship over the last couple of seasons. But then a controversial video surfaced on the social media account of Mazepin which ordered the FIA to step in and rule that Nikita be dropped to 3rd driver for this year, and it left HAAS in a bit of a mess. But fortunately, Mercedes, who Aiden Jackson is tied to as the young driver, called up and said, look, we'll give you him, we can ease him into Formula 1 with no pressure or an expectation considering the car, because HAAS are resourcing towards 2022. Not much expectation was on Jackson to even score points this season, but as the first 9 races will attest to, things have gone a bit differently since. We've got more team radio.
Alright, decent first lap, Aiden. You are now on the board. We are seeing some other drivers coming out. The Williams Russell is on the soft tyres. Let's see if we can beat him at the very least. Use this next lap to recharge the battery and cool the car down. Bring the tyres back into the operating temperature. Then, just as you're about to start the next lap, put the ERS into hot lap mode and burn some rubber. Let's see if we can keep ahead of him. Copy.
And, well, the rest you have seen in the Aiden Jackson story. And here we are today. Superb overtaking manoeuvres. Superb defensive driving. 2 points for HAAS in France, which put them ahead of Alfa Romeo, who currently have 1 point through Giovinazzi, and a bottom of the table Williams on 0 points. Maybe if HAAS can hold on to that, that would be crucial for their future. But the rumour mill has churned when it comes to Aiden Jackson. We can't really say anything right now because it is just rumours, but we are hearing certain stories involving other Mercedes powered teams. That's all we've really been told. But Jackson has certainly caught the eye of many of the teams. And let's just say this kid's stock has risen tenfold, and now we get to see him in, well, the top car on the grid, so to speak. This season has been relatively dominated by Mercedes in terms of the points, but recently they've fallen back a little bit. They had it tough in Austria, and well, everyone is expecting Mercedes to walk it here. This is Lewis Hamilton's playground, so to speak. Every time we come here, Lewis Hamilton just walks the majority of the time in this place. This is a very special place to Lewis Hamilton, so I would not be surprised if he whitewashes the entire weekend, including the new sprint. As George Russell goes fastest, he was on the soft tyres as Mercedes predicted. Jackson is now fastest in the first sector on the hard tyres. Now this would be very impressive, considering the Williams is a much slower car than the Mercedes period, but this would still be a relatively awesome achievement if Jackson could put it on the hard tyres and fastest so far. But of course he'd be only one of 2-3 drivers setting a time. He looks pretty at one with it now. He said to give him a couple of laps. It's only taken him 3, and he's already looking way up on his previous time. I think he's like 1 to 3 seconds quicker than his own time, which was a 1:32.3. He's going to smash that. He's probably going to go into the early 31s. Bear in mind he's on the hard tyres. Crosses the line now. A 1:31.4. That's an awesome lap, to be fair. Aiden Jackson has lit up the timing screens on that one. Good first real proper lap for him.
Alright mate, you were back ahead of Russell comfortably, purple across the lap. Good work buddy. Okay, bring the car in, we'll analyse some data, and we'll let some other drivers set some times. We think you may be in the top 10. I think at the highest you may be P7. That'll be of course depending on what the other drivers do. Great work so far buddy, you're doing fantastically well. We will see you back here.
And Mercedes seem pretty pleased with Jackson's progress. It's only taken him 3 laps to put a pretty respectable time on the board. They reckon he's going to be in the top 10, which would be a pretty decent result for a kid that's not even drove the car yet. He's obviously probably had some simulator work with the team, being the development driver, but he's certainly not been in the real thing yet. The simulators can be very close, but the real thing is a little bit different. And Jackson seems to have gelled rather comfortably and rather quickly, to be honest. Well, Jackson is just defying everything, isn't it? He really is defying the HAAS's capabilities. The HAAS, not to be unkind to HAAS, but it is the worst performing car on the grid. But Jackson just put that car in places it doesn't belong. Very similar fashion to Michael Schumacher. And Jackson has had comparisons to the likes of Max Verstappen, and probably a couple saying Michael Schumacher with the car deficiency thing. And just as a side note, Nikita Mazepin will be driving the HAAS in this particular session. We'll have a close eye on him as well, see if he can get somewhere within teammate Mick Schumacher. And it's been very fierce and very even between Jackson and Schumacher this year. But they've been well out of the points on a lot of occasions. But the 2 points in France could prove crucial. But Alfa Romeo and Williams pretty much need to score no points for the rest of the season if HAAS going to really benefit from that cash prize money that they'll get at the end of the year, and that'll help tremendously in their 2022 resources. Yes, hearing rumours of Jackson maybe being contacted by other Mercedes-powered teams. I wonder if Aston Martin have called him at some point. That would be a very good story indeed. We'll have to see if anything comes of that in the next few weeks. We'll keep you posted on that. And I'm hearing a Mercedes boot up again. This could be Jackson again. And it looks like he's coming out on the medium tyres.
Let's go.
So now we're going to see Jackson really fly on these. So he's P7. He's going out again. Mercedes feel that he can probably be faster. But yes, he's beaten the Alpine of Alonso on the soft tyres, on the hard tyres. Jackson has really impressed with his pace. His overall pace is just something to behold. He has had times where he's struggled, but his pace potential looks incredibly high based on the morning session so far.
Alright buddy, there's less than half an hour left in the session and the track should be rubbered in nicely now, so we're going to send you out on the medium tyres. Do it as many laps as you can and try to get back into the top 5, but don't worry about beating Lewis so much. He set his time at a 128 on the soft tyres. See if you can get back into the top 5 at best. Have fun up there, mate.
So they're going to give Jackson free rein. Oh my goodness, he's gone off the track. I think the speed has caught him out there. Fortunately, that's his out lap, but he ran a bit wide there, and now he's got a car coming up on him. It's one of his actual team that's gone by. I think that might have been Mazepin and an Alfa Romeo. Going by there as Jackson kind of went wide in the loop section. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. And it looks like Jackson's recovered nicely. So they're giving Jackson free rein for this run, but they're telling him not to really worry about beating Lewis Hamilton. The cynics will say that maybe that's part of the plan book, but to be honest, Mercedes are right. Lewis has set his time on the soft tyres, as he will be the main man this weekend. And Jackson's taking the place of Valtteri Bottas in this session. Just to reiterate again, he will be taking the place of Sir Lewis Hamilton in the second opportunity he will get at Abu Dhabi, as he's got another car coming up behind him, and Jackson lets him through. That's the other Alfa Romeo that has gone by, so this is probably going to hurt this initial lap. So Jackson probably is just going to take a couple of laps just to get up to speed with this car. He's not going to really be pushing on this one because he had to let the Alfa Romeo by. And from early in the session when we had his team radio, Jackson seemed to be really enjoying himself. And well, this kid is just, he's rewrit what is expected of a rookie. We all remember the likes of Juan Pablo Montoya that came in as a rookie and set fireworks immediately in the Williams, battling the great Michael Schumacher almost from the outset. Jackson has had a much different scenario in a way, but he's certainly gone toe to toe with some of the biggest names in the field, and he's come out on top on many occasions. He was ahead of Daniel Ricciardo for some time before a front wing damaged his front wing. He had to give up position there. And the old Avlon Stroll for the majority of the race in the French Grand Prix to score HAAS for only 2 points this season so far. And he's definitely had the legs of Mick Schumacher. It has been even between the two, however. And of course, Mick had that retirement in Baku. And we'll have to keep a close eye on Mick Schumacher at Spa and see if some of that Spa Schumacher magic helps him out there. But I'll tell you something, Jackson's just really looking impressive in this car. He already looks like he's gelled with it. And it'll feel really different to what he's used to, but then he's going to have to readjust for qualifying later on today, as that will take place today, and the sprint qualifying will be tomorrow, and that will set the grid for the race in a new format. Jackson already looking faster on this lap by about 2/10. The way Jackson takes corners, it's so smooth. He really kind of draws comparisons in corners to Jenson Button. But he will throw it in. He throws it in a lot harder than Button does. And I think that's what really... HAAS has not been a bad car, to be fair, because Jackson's really wrung the neck of it. And I think the small improvements HAAS are making to the car, and they're very small, they're very substantial. Oh, went a bit wide in cops there, Jackson. That might hurt his lap a bit. We are at the end of Mackett's and Beckett's. He has to really lift off and get out of the throttle there. And Jackson does know how to win here. He won here in F2. Last season he won the feature race here. And his home crowd roared him home. And they're roaring him on today. And they gotta love what they're seeing. Will this be the future of Mercedes? Aiden Jackson and George Russell could be their future. And Jackson was the fastest man in sector 3. He goes up to P4. That's a stunning lap, to be fair. That is an absolutely stunning lap. If it wasn't for the second sector, he probably would have been very close to Lewis in that one. It was then when he lost the time.
Alright, that was a fantastic lap, Aiden. You're up to P3 now, mate. Just behind Norris and clear of both Red Bulls. How are you feeling? Do you think you can find any more? I think so. The tyres still feel good, and I did make a couple of mistakes on those previous laps. We've got added for incentive here, Aiden. Max is just beating you into P3, and Norris has also gone quicker on the soft tyres. Thanks for the encouragement, boys. I now know what I need to do. Copy that. I'm on
it. There's no shortage of confidence in Aiden Jackson. It's completely new machinery, but the way he's gelled to it has just been tremendous to see. This kid is a star as Lewis Hamilton improves his time on the soft tyres there. This kid is a bona fide star, and I for one hope these rumours are true about Jackson, because a race or two ago this kid's future wasn't even being discussed. He's a loanee from Mercedes. He will be back there next season unless a team comes for him, and I think all teams will be vying for his signature. We're hearing the latest rumours with Alex Albon possibly to Williams. Aston Martin, if those rumours are, if it is Aston Martin that have been hat in the ring, that's interesting. That calls into the future, question the future of Sebastian Vettel. That really would be really a strange thing. But I think Jackson's his stock is just so high. It's gone up tenfold in 9 races. Aiden Jackson has risen his stock so incredibly high, and everyone wants this kid in their team. But there's just not enough contracts. You know, Ferrari are tied with Sainz until about 23, and rumours are that Mick Schumacher will take over from 23 if Sainz doesn't perform, which he has done this season. He won the French Grand Prix, of course, so maybe that's going to stall things at Ferrari a little bit. Mercedes may have an open seat, but we all expect George Russell to take it and replace Valtteri Bottas. Sir Lewis Hamilton wants to take on the 2022 cars, so he'll most likely be retained by Mercedes. Red Bull will most likely stick with Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, although considering their season, we always have heard the rumour that Max Verstappen has a performance clause in his contract, which sounds a bit of an odd thing, but if he does trigger that, but really if he did trigger that, he wouldn't be able to go anywhere. So I think the best move for Max in that instance would be to stay put. So it's going to be in the midfield then, where Jackson could end up. He could end up maybe in AlphaTauri, which is very unlikely considering the plethora of Red Bull Academy drivers in their pool at the moment, and the same with Ferrari. So Mercedes seems like the best port of call, but if Williams go for Albon to replace Russell, if they retain Latifi, where could Jackson go? Aston Martin seems like the only destination in that instance. And there's no free kind of ride at Alpine either, because Ocon and Alonso look to stay on. So Jackson is turning some heads, but we're all trying to work out where he would go. He's a loanee at HAAS, so we're all expecting Mazepin to be in that HAAS for next season, considering what's going on with them. But it's such a difficult situation for them, because they're contracted with Mazepin. HAAS is a loanee, Jackson is a loanee from Mercedes, he does have a contract in place. Obviously, it's a bit like the Michael Schumacher situation back in 1991. But it leaves Jackson out of the lurch a little bit. But his performances have he's put everyone on notice. But where is a seat that would open up? And that's why we've been discussing it so much. Right now, he just seems to be kind of trying to find his way with the medium tyres. He's not really done much. In the last 2 laps, he's been slower in his best. I think he's been recharging the battery in this last lap, so it looks like we're going to go again. Checking on the ERS meter at the bottom right of your screen. Tells you what Jackson's doing in terms of gears and ERS. Nice through the first corner. Let's stay on board with him here. He's already going faster by 2/10. Oh, that was such a wonderful corner take by Jackson there. He threw it in. He struggled a bit in the second corner, but it looks to have really recovered. Now we're going to go down. I think it's the hanger straight is the first one. Let's see how he takes this corner. Throws it in. Absolutely threw it in. What confidence. He is the fastest man in Sector 1, Aiden Jackson. And that was just beautiful. The way this kid turns a car under brake and how he brakes is just unheard of. A little wide through Cox. He might get away with it. I think it was the left front wheel that went over the curbs there. I think he'll get away with that one. He struggled here. Again, he has to lift. He takes a bit more curb than he probably would have liked. PB in Sector 2. He's going to go faster, Jackson. But I don't think he'll beat Hamilton. But he'll do well to get within half a second or so. I love the way Jackson takes these corners. He really just throws it in like Schumacher used to do. Michael Schumacher, that is. And the final corner, it's going to be very close to Hamilton. Oh my! A 129.4 right on Hamilton's tail in P2.
Alright Aiden, that was a fantastic lap, buddy. You end P2. You were fastest of everyone through Sector 1. You lost a bit of time in Sector 2, particularly the end of the Maggots and Becking section, but you stormed it. P2, mate. Half a second behind Lewis. Don't be discouraged by that, mate. It was a fantastic lap. Yes! Let's go, boys. I knew I could find it. That lap was so hooked up in particular. I think the car might have understeered a bit during the Maggots and Becking section. That might be more me than the car, though, because this car was fantastic through that lap. Oh, I'm assuming that's the end of the day for us, right? Yep, you've pretty much worn the tyres out, Aiden. Bring it home, and we'll see you back here. You've done a great day, mate. Great day's work. Copy.
Mercedes certainly happy and maybe a little bit surprised with Jackson getting right within Lewis Hamilton's wheel tracks on the medium tyres, no less. He beats Norris, who we seem to have a bug here because Ricciardo has actually just gone P3 on the softs. So we've got a bit of a bug, I think, because Norris was at one point showing on the soft tyres, but it's Ricciardo that's being in now. But he can't get near Jackson on the mediums. That's a sensational lap by Jackson, to be fair. Absolutely sensational lap. He turns more heads.
Alright, buddy. That is the end of the day for us. You can be so proud of your efforts today, mate, because we sure are. You blew us away with those laps today. Absolutely fantastic job, mate. Wow. Again, guys, this car is something. Appreciate the opportunity so much, guys. More than you know. Thank you. Yeah. Loved it. Loved every second of it. I guess I'll see you in Abu Dhabi then, right? You sure will, Aiden. Again, great job, mate. Great job. Thanks, guys. Copy that.
Well, they do have to be mindful that this is kind of Bottas's car. They probably don't want Aiden Jackson taking any more mileage out of it because the kid could run for the entire session if he wanted. But even still, look at that. Half a second behind Hamilton, who was on the soft tyres. That is a sensational day's work by Aiden Jackson as he continues to really put more teams on notice, perhaps. This kid deserves a future. There needs to be talk somewhere because this kid is a gem And if he's not on the grid, like I said back in Austria, then there's something wrong, because this kid is not a kid you can't pass up on, much like Charles Leclerc or Max Verstappen, who Max goes 5th and Charles goes 7th. Daniel Ricciardo and Lando Norris really proving the McLaren's power today. Let's talk about some others. Nikita Mazepin, I think it's going to be P19 he was on the soft tyres behind Mick Schumacher, so that's Nikita Mazepin's first run in practice this season. We'll see him at Abu Dhabi. What a practice, and what more stock raising for Aiden Jackson. But what can he do from tomorrow and for qualifying later today as well? We'll find out then.